I decided to change up my format a little bit for recording because I brought all this equipment, so, I might as well use it. Anyway, moreover to that, I'm going to talk about my second week at theater school in a bit more detail than I did initially. And the second week was an interesting experience. I know that's like the most generic terms that I could describe it in, but yeah, I mean, that's really the best way I have to put it. It was interesting. So, a big theme that I really felt this week was that it was designed to help prioritize the idea of building relationships, especially as it pertains to our acting and theater courses, but in a more general sense, it was getting us to get to know each other a little bit better. And I mean, I can definitely say I feel a lot closer with most of my classmates than I did at the start of the week. But I've also just kind of realized that I have a lot of questions that have yet to really be fully and adequately answered, at least as far as I'm concerned, because the more and more that I looked into doing this, and the more that all right, truth be told, I had a really hard time figuring out what I'm supposed to be doing this week. So, for the record, we have these assignments, or we have this one assignment called a chronicle that basically asks us, hey, here is the week. What do you think you really took out of it? And I had to rewrite it like 3 or 4 times when I was going over it myself, because not because I'd necessarily not learned anything, but because I didn't really know how to process it. I didn't know how to make it sound unique or original or make it sound new and refreshing and exciting in its own way. And I eventually found it. I eventually decided on the idea that this week was designed to help us build relationships, and a lot of the stuff that we learned in acting was about those sorts of relationships, relationships to an item, relationships to a scene partner, how you're elevating the stakes, how you're improving things, focusing your concentration and getting you to focus on the whole picture. And I feel like that last idea in particular, the focus on the bigger picture, focus on how the world around you is functioning, is something that I need to take into better consideration and practice more. Because truth be told, for the first week, I didn't know how to feel about a lot of things. It was introducing a lot of very new concepts and just giving me new types of information, giving me different ways of trying to process and understand this information, and more importantly, giving me stuff that I didn't really think was going to be what it was when we got it. So, in an earlier short in the week, I think I mentioned something about how, I had changed my perspective on a class, and how that was a very big deal because I'd been a bit hasty with how I decided to look at things. And I feel like that mentality could probably be applied to a lot of what I did this week. Not that I was necessarily closed-minded, or that I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to take it in, or I was just shutting it away or anything like that, but more so in a sense that I kind of need to be more open to the idea of taking things on faith in a better sense. I'm not really the kind of person who likes to be met with no types of answers. I like to be able to see a question in front of me, figure out all the steps that I need to solve it, and then solve that question or that problem. And I don't really like operating with unknowns. Now, maybe that's a bad position to have as an artist, and I'm quickly learning that it is going to be limiting if I keep that sort of mentality going forward, which is why I'm glad that I've been very quickly proven wrong in a lot of areas. I might not necessarily understand what we're doing, but at the end of the day, the people who do understand what they are doing, and they know what they're doing. My teachers know what they're doing. I just need to trust them and let them take me to where they eventually see me. And that's it's a lesson that I think a lot of people might need to hear. that you don't necessarily need to have everything all figured out right away. And that's just kind of general life advice. I didn't really predict even 3 years ago I'd be where I am now, so it's crazy where life can take you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. On a bit more of an upbeat note, we finally got to move into the full rotation of our classes this week, and it included some stuff that I really did enjoy. We finally got to get started on jazz class, which makes this the first real dance training that I've ever done, and I found that it was pretty similar to some of the stuff I've done in my past. I did martial arts, and I did martial arts for a really long time, and that really translated over super well. There's one particular movement, chassé, which is basically, I'm doing this with my hands because I can't really get up, but so basically you, like, one foot goes over and then the other one chases it down. I'm watching my own hands here as I'm doing this, and it's reversed for me, so that makes it even more fun. But yeah, that kind of movement was something that I'd done a lot in martial arts as just a quicker movement option than... I say quicker as if it's the most efficient form of moving, which obviously it isn't, but when you need to be able to maintain your balance and have a solid stance and still be mobile, it's more effective than you would expect it would be, just looking at it at first glance. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. And honestly, that's something that I found out this entire week was really enjoyable. Movement combined with music is so much fun. I am not a dancer. I have never understood dance for the life of me, and 3 of my classes this week incorporated music into some form of movement. Physical theater that I did yesterday, or yesterday from my perspective at least, incorporated some music for the first time, and it was the most enjoyable class I've ever had doing physical theater. The jazz class, naturally being a type of dance, used a lot of music, and it was a lot of fun. The first movement class we did this week, which was not necessarily dance, but used similar principles at its base. Another class that I just ended up enjoying way too much. And yeah, I think that dance is something that I've always been passionate about, but never really pursued. Maybe it's just a hidden desire. Maybe it's something that I'm just coming into terms with now. But I've been finding it to be quite fun, and I really hope that can continue. I want to be able to keep finding new things and finding more about this program and about myself and just performing and acting in general, stuff that I can hopefully enjoy. Like, I enjoy making videos like this. I enjoy just creating content. I enjoy the creative process, and I'm finding out that there's more facets to that than I ever could have possibly imagined. But I think more to the point, I'm also finding out there's a lot more to me than I ever really imagined. Because if there is one thing that I can realistically take from this entire week, more so than anything else, it's that I don't necessarily know who I am or what I want. And I think a lot of us in life shut that part of ourselves away. You know, we're told that it's not a good thing to be ourselves, that you shouldn't try and put yourself out there because you risk being hurt, or, you know, you shouldn't say anything because that's not what a good boy or a good girl does, you know. And there's just a lot of social restrictions and barriers, especially going into something like arts or like into content creation. You've always got that financial consideration, you know, like, you've got to think, am I going to be able to pay the bills doing this? And it's a very realistic and human concern that at the end of the day stifles a lot of creativity. This is the exact reason why a lot of Hollywood movies are pretty cut and dry, because at the end of the day, it's a business. You need to make money. You need to be able to eat. You need to be able to put food on the table. But I think a lot of people neglect who they are at their core because of this. They get themselves very bogged down by societal expectation, how they're supposed to act, what they're supposed to think, what they're supposed to feel, and it's damaging in a very serious way. You know, I don't think I would have ever even considered pursuing this. I mean, like I said, even 3 years ago, I never would have seen myself today. I would not have pursued acting seriously, even though it has always been something that I've been passionate about, always been something that I've considered since I was a kid until I decided to just take a leap of faith. And I think a lot of other people probably have similar stories. I think that a lot of people have secret passions or hobbies that they want to get into, but they just never find the time. And don't wait, I guess is my advice. I'm at a very fortunate point in my life where I can afford to take these sort of chances, take these sort of risks. But, you know, in 10 years from now, maybe I won't. Maybe in 5 years from now, I won't be able to do this. But right now, I am, and so I can. And the longer I wait on stuff like this, the longer it'll take, and it might never, ever get done. And I think, again, just very general life advice, but I think this the school is going to help me in a lot of ways beyond just learning acting skills. I think that if nothing else, it's taught me that I don't need to define myself by any metrics. And I've always been the kind of person who's fairly self-assured. I don't really take too much stock in what other people think about me. I prefer to just be my own individual person. I don't really get too bogged down by things like, well, are people going to like this? Is this the right thing to say? Is this whatever? And it's a very polarizing thing. Some people really don't appreciate blunt honesty. Some people really just would rather you don't say anything at all. And I get that. I really do. But that's never really been who I am. And I think that going to this school has really given me, I don't want to say confidence. I don't want to say, I'm still just starting out here, right? I think what it is giving me most of all, though, is perspective. It's really opening my eyes to who I really am, what I really want to do, and what I'm willing to do in order to get there. And I'd recommend that you really sit down and think about that for your own sake if you have the opportunity to, because we just don't find time to do that in today's day and age. If it doesn't make you money, and you don't want to pursue it, but at the end of the day, I think that you're going to be more satisfied having done something crazy and regretting it later than you would having not done said crazy thing and then having no real story to talk about. So, moving into next week, I'm going to be heading much more into crew calls, and I guess that's one thing I'll touch on here. So crew calls are, I mean, they're pretty much exactly what you'd expect. The people who build the lights, build the sets, paint everything, get props for all the characters, costumes, and all that. That's really what crew calls are at their core. And I had to do that this week on Monday and Tuesday, and I ended up staying at school from like 9:30 in the morning until like 10:30 at night. And when I say 9:30, more like 9 because I got there a bit early. So yeah, about 13 to 14 hour days, and that's not even counting the time like I have to walk home after that. So very long days. It is fun, it is enjoyable. One thing I like about crew calls and just backstage work in general is that it really teaches you life skills beyond everything that I just talked about. I mean, like practical life skills, like figuring out how to hang a light or figuring out how to, saw something properly or just build basic construction setups. It's nothing super in-depth necessarily, but it does teach you very practical skills for a workplace setting or just at-home repairs or whatever. And that's something that I really appreciated doing. Next week, it kind of gets crazier for me because while I do have up until I think, Wednesday off. From Wednesday onward, I'm going in like every single day from 9 a.m. to midnight, pretty much. So it's a good thing that I actually can sleep in a bit later than most of my classmates, because I don't need to take all of the classes they do, thanks to previous experiences. Um, Still going to be rough, but you know what? I'm looking forward to it. And I guess if I really had to boil down the week to one little thing, and I know that's a lot saying everything I've already covered, but if I really had to break it down and just say one thing, it's made me excited to pursue. I've seen how far that a single week can change my perspective. I've seen how narrow my perspective has been and how much more room it has to develop and grow. And the school is poised to do exactly that. It's going to take me further than I ever thought that I could go, and I just have to be open to that. And being open to change is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, no matter what the context. So, a lot of things I'm hoping you take out of this, but again, if you're going to boil it down to one or two, let's say two. Give me two. The first one, be open to change and new ideas. Be willing to adapt and accept things around you. And number two, don't be afraid to pursue your dreams and who you are as a person. Because at the end of the day, the greatest amount of fulfillment you'll ever receive is by pursuing things that you are truly passionate about. And if you don't get the opportunity to pursue those things, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.